I've been creating beauty content for a while now, which means that my makeup collection has absolutely exploded and I need way more space for it. So I ordered a new makeup organizer to store it all, and let's build it today while we talk. By the way, if you're new to my channel, I'm Nick Knoll, and this is my third month doing YouTube. I like to share makeup tutorials and glow up tips so that we can all be our best selves together. I started this channel because I feel like there aren't that many resources in English about Eastern makeup styles, and I personally never really gravitated towards Western style makeup, so it was hard for me to find my personal style and makeup that suits my features. So I want to be a resource for the girls who also prefer the cuter or softer styles. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm not gonna lie guys, I got this off of Temu and the instructions are not very clear, so hopefully this isn't too hard. My resume is in building IKEA furniture. Honestly, as I was growing up, I never really cared about being beautiful. I have always been known as the smart kid, and being pretty was just not something that I ever really even thought about or cared about until a long time later when I went to college. During high school, I was so focused on having good grades so I could get into a good school. And to be honest, when I wasn't focused on being pretty or wanting to be pretty, I was really happy. That's part of the reason why I don't think that it's that important for girls, especially young women, to care that much about their appearance or put that much time and effort into it, because really there are better things for you to invest your time in, like your education and just learning how to be a good person. The thing about beauty is that you really can't have it forever. A huge part of the equation is just youth, if we're being honest with society standards. So at some point you're going to have to let that notion go and just be happy with yourself. To do that, I feel like you need to like yourself. So someday when you're older, you don't want to regret any of the decisions you made. And I don't think anyone has ever regretted being smart or well educated. The first time that I started to think about my appearance was the beginning of Snapchat. Before, I used to have a slide-out keyboard phone. This was before the era of smartphones, and no one really took selfies in that time, so you didn't have as much appearance anxiety going on. And then Snapchat also introduced filters to the world, which truly was the beginning of the end. And I'm grateful that for at least the majority of my childhood, I was not worried about things like my appearance and I could just enjoy being a kid. That's not to say that there's nothing beneficial about investing in your appearance. I think there's a baseline standard of being well-groomed and hygienic, and that's really just for your quality of life. It's also undeniable that pretty privilege exists in our society, and it's natural for people to want to take advantage of that. I know that I certainly did. Who doesn't want to be treated better? While there are definitely advantages to being considered attractive by societal standards, I don't think it's all too important. Even when I felt ugly or I didn't like how I looked, there were always still people out there for me, so I don't think that's something that you really have to worry about at all. And that's why I preach so much about being beautiful for you, because everything that I've done in the pursuit of aesthetics was for me to fit into my own standards and really not for anyone else. Something else that I think deeply impacted my self-perception was my introduction to K-pop. My friends in middle school were really into anime and K-pop, and they introduced those things to me. This was back in the era of like Girls' Generation and 21, and even though it's quite a while ago, the fundamentals of the Korean beauty standard hasn't changed that much. Before I was introduced to K-pop, I had only really known Western media since I moved to America when I was pretty young. The funny upside about Asian underrepresentation in Hollywood is that because there were no Asians for me to watch in the mainstream media, I just had zero perception of what was considered beautiful on an Asian. Since I knew I wasn't a white girl, I never subjected myself to any of their beauty standards, and I think that's part of the reason why, as I was growing up, I just did not care about being considered pretty. And I really do attribute the K-pop industry as the primary reason why I started being interested in plastic surgery. Before I knew about K-pop, I didn't really know anything about plastic surgery except that people like to get nose jobs. The concepts of like double eyelid surgery and facial contouring surgery. Well, white people don't get those surgeries in the first place, so I never heard it growing up in America. And that's why I really do think it's somewhat of a blessing and a curse. Now that I have gotten work done, I still feel like at the end of the day, the best thing that you can do is be happy with your own appearance. As much as I enjoy fitting into the beauty standard, I also feel that it's a little bit saddening because if I had never found out about those things in the first place, I don't think that it's something that I would have considered. But once you know about it, it sits in your mind, and at least for me, I just couldn't let go of it, and I'm not the type of person to be wishy-washy. I feel like a lot of people have some type of belief, whether they've thought about it consciously or not, that getting plastic surgery will make their life magically better. It definitely can help with your self-esteem, but I don't think that your life is just going to suddenly 180. If you have facial dysmorphia, getting plastic surgery to change your face might not fix your dysmorphia per se. You need to do the mental work before getting physical changes done, because otherwise, even after your surgery, you might still have facial dysmorphia. I think compared to the average person, I'm definitely more pro plastic surgery, but that doesn't mean that I think you should get it. If you can be happy with your current self, if you can find other avenues of self-improvement, like becoming more athletic or muscular, or getting better at makeup or doing your hair, I think those are much better avenues to pursue. But I say that I'm pro plastic surgery because I think that if it's something that you really want to do, that's totally up to you, and no one else should have any say in what you do with yourself. Additionally, I feel like plastic surgery is a way better solution to changing your facial aesthetics than something like filler. All of my friends know that I am the biggest filler hater. At least with things like surgery, you're not going to need to worry about like filler migration or having pillow face in the future because you've actually changed the structures of your face. Obviously, plastic surgery has its own risks, and they're even higher, to be honest. I'm not particularly a fan of the looks maxing community, at least not in its current state, but I do think that some of the principles of it are sound. There are resources now on YouTube like Coves where they analyze what makes certain facial traits attractive, which I found to be really useful when I was still developing my personal sense of aesthetics. It's easy to look at celebrities and say that, oh, I find them super pretty, but to be able to dive into the nitty-gritty of why you find them attractive, I think is really good for developing your own personal sense of aesthetics. It'll make you more discerning about why certain traits are considered attractive and about how you can adapt your styling to more closely fit your beauty standard. And with looks maxing, they definitely teach a couple things that are good and helpful, such as tongue posture. I personally do believe in mewing, and the negative effects of mouth breathing is definitely clear. I also find it very fun to deeply analyze facial traits and features, so I do feel a little bit of camaraderie towards the looks maxers since I feel like they have that same level of attention to detail that I do. I consume a lot of Chinese media as well on Xiaohongshu. I learned a lot from watching girls on Xiaohongshu discuss how they've made themselves prettier, and I really love the methodical approach that they take to these things. That's part of why I wanted to start creating my own videos, because if you don't speak Chinese, then you're really missing out on all of these amazing resources. Even the way that they do their makeup is super technical. Every step has a purpose. Something that goes kind of hand in hand with facial dysmorphia, I guess, would be body dysmorphia. For this one, it's a little harder for me to discuss it since there's not really that much you can do to optimize your body besides just working out, eating right, and stretching. There's not as much you can do to it compared to your face. For your body, the most that you can really do is styling. And while there is a lot to learn there, it's not something that I'm as passionate about. And once you find your personal style or cuts and silhouettes that work for you, there's not really much room for you to improve on it. But with the rise of Ozempic and peptides or whatnot, I feel like we're about to experience another wave of skinny being in fashion again, and that definitely concerns me since I grew up in the 2000s era where supermodel skinny was the beauty standard, and that was when I struggled the most with my own self-image image. And it really goes to show that the last 10 years of campaigning for body positivity and inclusivity have really just been for show. If we circle back to the whole K-pop thing, I know that there are really trendy diets that they do in K-pop where you eat like 1 apple a day, and to me that is just absolutely insane. There's no way that that can be good for you. In my mind, I think that would lead to normal people just rebounding anyways. If you are trying to lose weight, you should do it slowly with a small calorie deficit and start changing your lifestyle and your eating habits so that you can have a sustained and long-term change. Honestly, in general, I kind of hate the concept of dieting. The idea of not allowing yourself to eat certain foods or certain foods being bad is just so silly to me. Another thing that the gym bros have right is calories in, calories out. If I'm craving something really unhealthy, I'm going to let myself eat it. And maybe I just eat less throughout the rest of the day. At some point you're gonna get sick of hearing me say this, but balance is truly the key in all aspects of life. Being beautiful and being your best self is a lifestyle, and it takes a lot of work. So maintaining that kind of thing long term, you need to have a method so that it can be sustainable for you. It feels like I've come such a long way, and if I think about it, it has been a long journey. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's something that you have to work at consistently for months and years, and all I can say is that I promise it'll be worth it in the end. It's always worth it to invest in yourself, whether that be in your education or in making yourself feel prettier and feel better in your own body, investing in your mental health and doing the mental work so that you can be happy. Happiness truly comes from the inside, so if you can find something to be grateful for every day, I promise you, you'll lead a happier life. If you've made it to the end, thank you for watching. This is my first time having an open-ended conversation on this channel, so it was fun for me to talk about whatever came up on my mind. I hope that maybe you've learned something from all my yapping, and if you have any questions for me, make sure to leave a comment since I'm going to be doing a Q&A at the end of this month. And on a final note, remember to treat yourself kindly and speak kindly to yourself. Thank you for your continued support of this channel. It really does mean a lot to me, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.